Welcome. On behalf of Inverhaven Farms and Wellington County Soil and Crops, I want to invite you to join with us for a manure spreader demonstration day held near Elora, September 1995.
About manure management, the wise use of manure. The Wellington Soil and Crop have organized a unique method of demonstrating manure application, especially since it will show spreading pattern and the rate of manure that goes on. And so for a few minutes I'd just like to talk about using the manure for the maximum nutrient content. Most of you have heard me talk before about analyzing manure, the importance of analyzing manure and knowing what nutrients you're working with. If anybody needs to know how to take a good sample, you can talk to me throughout the afternoon. I'd like to emphasize, though, that in analysis, there's a wide variation. Even if two neighboring farms have similar livestock, similar numbers of livestock, similar handling facilities and storage, they still could have a drastic difference in the amount of nutrients in their manure. And that's based a lot on ration, on spreading, when it's spread, how soon it's incorporated, and all those type of factors. Taking a manure analysis, if you do it once every 3 years or something in that neighborhood, tends to be enough. It gives you an idea of what you're working with, puts you in the right ballpark for estimating the nutrients. It's a lot better than going to a publication and trying to decide, oh, I'm working with these type of averages, because quite likely your farm is different than the ballpark averages. In an analysis, when you're taking an analysis, make sure that you ask for the total nitrogen and also for the ammonia nitrogen. Ammonia nitrogen is the nitrogen that's available most rapidly for the crop. It's also the part of the manure that gets lost the most easily. It's the section of the manure that gets volatilized, although with a rain like this, even if you put on the manure and can't get it incorporated within 24 hours, 10 millimeters of rain will usually incorporate it the same as a cultivation would, as long as you don't get erosive rains that take it to the nearest pond or creek. Enough about analysis. The next thing I'd like to talk about is, once you know what nutrients you're working with, that information is wasted if you don't know how much you're putting on or how evenly you're putting it on. I'll just cite briefly an example that we measured in a farm last year. A farmer was using his pig farmer neighbor's equipment. His equipment was supposed to give you a width of 300 feet for irrigation, but because he was using a dairy manure, fairly thick, he was only getting 150 feet. So instead of putting on 7,000 gallons per acre, he was putting on closer to 15,000 gallons per acre. That was the average, but it varied across the width anywhere from 500 gallons to 21,000 gallons. Or in other words, when it comes to amount of nitrogen, it ranged anywhere from 50 pounds of nitrogen to 500 pounds of nitrogen. So it's really no wonder that he noticed differences in his crop growth. So it's important to know what the spreading pattern is and how to adjust that spreading pattern so that you're making most valuable use of the nutrients. With an irrigation system, which isn't going to be demonstrated here, the rule of thumb that I like to use is start with a 10% overlap. So if you're working with 300-foot spread pattern, overlap by 30 feet and then adjust it depending on what the wind is. Now that's for irrigation. For solid manure, you'll get some hints today while you watch these demonstrations. My notes are a little soaked. Very soaked. So once applied, how do you make sure that the nutrients are used to their maximum potential? And again, time of year that the application is done and how the manure is incorporated, always the suggestion is to incorporate it as soon as possible. But there are variations in how fast the manure nitrogen is lost. On a hot, humid day, the nitrogen is going to be lost a lot faster than a cool day, especially a cool day where it's raining like this. On a hot, humid day, you can lose up to 100% of the ammonia nitrogen, so you can go from an actual use nitrogen of 19 pounds per 1,000 gallons to 2 pounds per 1,000 gallons or less. With the solid manure, that's a little bit less because a lot of the nitrogen is organic and is available over a longer period of time. As far as the timing of nitrogen, corn crop utilizes the nitrogen and the nutrients of manure the best. That doesn't mean that other crops don't utilize the nitrogen. How do I get rid of the screen?
Step over here, Chris.
Oh, okay.
No, rain is much over
Corn crop utilizes it the most. That doesn't mean that an alfalfa crop or a soybean crop won't utilize those nitrogen, those nutrients, but a corn crop will utilize it the best. A wheat crop and a cereal crop will also utilize the nitrogen, but there's a fine line in application between applying enough for the crop needs and too much for lodging. And so if you are applying it to a cereal crop, make sure you've got a variety that stands well, a hard red or a dwarf variety. When you're applying manure on a wheat stubble like we are here, again, you're not using the nutrients for a crop that's growing, so ideally you would put a cover crop or a volunteer wheat crop or clover or something that will utilize the nutrients in an organic matter form, keep that organic matter so that it degrades the following spring, and still those nutrients will be of use for the following crop. So that you don't have to stand in the rain long, I'll just summarize by saying I'm not going to talk about the economic value of the fertilizer and manure, because there's more economic value to manure than just the fertilizer equivalents. Nobody's ever put a price value on organic matter or on the micronutrients or even on the value of manure for earthworm food. But for a livestock farmer, manure is a cost of doing business, and so if you can use the nutrients from manure to their maximum potential, you're reducing that cost as much as you can. So in other words, spreading it on a field that doesn't see manure every single year, spreading it to a crop that can utilize the nutrients the best, utilizing manure for nutrients instead of trying to get rid of the manure is the secret to success. So as you're watching the manure demonstrations in the next minutes or hours or whatever, keep that in mind, keep utilization in mind, and if you've got any questions, there's lots of people here that are willing to answer them. And I'll turn it back to you.
Spreader part of the day underway. Our first company being represented is Agri-S Martin Limited with the New Holland dry box spreader here, number 195. And Noah Weaver's going to come up and give us a brief introduction about that unit before they go. The spokesperson can talk for 2 minutes and then...
Thank you, Steve. And thanks again to the committee for putting this together and having us out here and showing what we can do in the field. We're kind of all outstanding in our field here today, and we'll see what we can do. The spreader you see before us here is the biggest one in the box spreader that New Holland builds. They have been in the spreader business for many years. They built 7 models from 142 bushel up to 410 bushel, this one right here. This spreader can be bought with the double apron, as you see here before us, or a single apron. They're built with a high-density polyethylene floorboard. The floor is installed in such a way that it can contract and expand without putting any pressure on the side or the frame of the spreader. The steel is highly corrosive resistant steel and a high tensile steel. The tongue is a high tensile steel. It goes back and attaches onto a heavy side frame that attaches right to the axle, so you're pulling right on your axle instead of on the box. The drive at the front is a belt drive for the beaters. Well, that drives your gearbox for the apron as well, but the belt is a protection for the beaters. The apron is shear bolt protected. And this spreader can be bought with 2 beaters, as this one is, or single beater, with or without the end gate. Several different options like that. So I think we'll let him proceed on down the field.
Anything we want to say while we spoke?
The beater control at the front is a quadrant that is controlled with a rope or with an optional hydraulic cylinder. It's got 2 apron speeds for unloading, plus a clean out and a neutral position.
Okay, you notice as he crosses over the white burlap bags there's a group of men that have been assigned. They will gather those bags up, bring them back, weigh them individually, and we will record the data on the board. That way you can watch it throughout the day as we progress across the field.
Good afternoon and welcome from John Deere. We've chosen to demonstrate our 785 Hydro Push spreader this afternoon. We call it Hydro Push because there's no apron change. The advantage there is reduced maintenance, especially in the freezing type conditions. Also, you don't have all the chains and the drives and so on that again can cause that maintenance. What happens is that the front of the spreader plus the floor move forward or towards the rear as a unit to feed the beaters. Once the floor approaches the beaters, then the front continues to push material towards the beater. One of the advantages is here, when you're just about unloaded, you don't tend to taper off and diminish your spread pattern. It stays pretty much constant until the spreading is complete. This particular model here is 400 bushels. We do have a smaller one at 250 bushels. That's also the Hydro Push type configuration. It'll be either 540 or 1000 RPM drive. Both these Hydro Push models do come with the tandem axles. In addition to Hydro Push, we do have additional box type spreaders, one of which is on display behind me. Have a look at it a bit later. It's a conventional conveyor type a spreader. Has T-rod type chain in it. Advantage there is as the chain ages, it doesn't tend to seize up quite as easily. It has a belt type drive, which eliminates the need for clutch and shear pin type protection and so on. The smallest 2 models are single axle, larger 2 models are tandem. One other model we've got not here on display is a V-tank type spreader. We have 3 models of the V-tank to handle the semi-liquid type material. Okay, Bill, go ahead. Once the demonstrations are finished, be sure and come on out behind the truck here and have a look at the other spreader we have on display. In addition, we've got our new 5000 series tractor, which is equipped with hydraulic reverser and also with wet clutch, big advantage for doing that loader type work.
This is the left one? You got the center? Center? designated driver
Okay,
when you want to move.
I guess go ahead now. Ken, can we move?
Slide on, gives you less strain on the chain. They're all available with end gates and upper beaters.
Don't know why we're going on and off. Just, you don't need to hold this up high, just hold that up. Hold the mic up and see if it'll...
Okay. All right, I guess that just about covers it. I don't know whether I mentioned already that this spreader either is available on a single axle and also, as you see it here, tandem. That's all, I guess.
Okay, take notice as we're going along there, filling in the chart here. Notice we have the left side, we have the center, and we have the right side. And that gives you the, John, are we in metric tons per hectare or tones? How are we doing this?
Tons per acre.
Tons per acre. So the short tons per acre. Okay, so pay attention to the chart and you can see the different spread patterns in. Are we ready for the next one then? We'll go ahead, or just wait?
New Idea 3632 model, one of 5 machines that they're offering. This particular unit is 320 bushel. As you can see, it's a tandem axle unit with a top beater and end gate. Take note, when the gate goes up, the gate is pivoted so it'll follow the line of the load, acts like a shield. It comes with either 1 or 2. It either comes with 1 or 2 cylinders, which is optional. Also, the spreader can have different rates. It has low and high and clean out speeds, along with a standard 20% or 50% reduction sprocket. If you notice, it's got a number 80 chain on this one, so it's a good heavy chain drive. The apron chain is slip clutch protected, and the beaters are driven, I should say the apron is driven by chain and the beaters are driven by a slip clutch. And this is not working. Can you hear me now? No. You just have to talk good and loud, I guess, that's all. Anyway, it's got the full plastic floor on it, clean out. It's got the culvert, the copper bearing culvert grade galvanized steel sides, which are guaranteed. And we feel it's a good strong spreader. It's been around for a long time. So where'd you go?
Oh, is it water here?
Check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2.
$25.
Actually,
275. He's saying make sure you hold it up to your mouth. Yeah.
How long will it last?
Presented by Harkness Farm Equipment and Swanson Farm Equipment. And we have Doug Harkness here, who is going to introduce this machine on behalf of Harkness.
Okay, this is a Hagadorn 275 model. It's likely the most popular model that we're selling. It's got upper and lower beater in it. The lower beater has replaceable paddles on it. It's got 3/4 inch poly sides on it. It's a hydro push, so we got less gear. Well, there's no gearbox. We got less wear, no apron chains, anything like that. It's a well-built Canadian-made spreader. Thanks.
Okay. How many bushels?
It's a 270 bushel spreader, 420 heat.
I just seen water running over. Yeah, there's up in the plastic. Do you want that? Well, I guess it's okay there, isn't it?
You put the mic in the cab?
Yeah, it's up on the dash. There.
What's after that Hagadorn? Case?
Then we will have the case 1570. Case IH 1570. You just go ahead.
It's one of the 5 in our lineup. All of our spreaders utilize a welded frame. The frame is an A-frame design, which pulls back off the rear axles. Our floor is a poly-laminated marine plywood. It's 7 layers. It's coated with a plastic poly coating, which is a very slippery resistance. It's guaranteed for the life of the spreader against peeling. We utilize what they call the new style T-rod chain, which is similar to the T-bar. Its advantage is that the links in the T portion go out farther on the links. So therefore it takes more of a side twist to unhook. With some of the T-bar chain, you can unhook that at about a 25 degree, 45 degree angle. You have to go almost to a little tighter than that to unhook the T-rod. We utilize 12 beaters on this spreader, which are made of wear-resistant steel. The paddles that are on the outer side help keep the sides clean on the spreader as well. With the 12 paddles, we are able to configure the spreader in such a way that there's about 6 paddles in contact with the load at all time, which will give you a little more uniform spread pattern. We also utilize 1 gearbox for both the apron and the beater drive.
This is the H&S spreader. This is represented by Gilmore Farm Supply out of Harriston. And to introduce this machine, we have Ross Sorrells, who is a company rep from H&S. And he will give you the scoop on this.
Thank you.
I want to thank the Wellington Soil and Crop for putting this day on today. I want to thank Scott Gilmore from Gilmore Farm Supply for bringing the unit down here for us. Scott is our Ontario warehouse for H&S, as well as the local dealer in the area. H&S brought this spreader out about 5 years ago. It's an all-purpose spreader, liquid, semi-solid, or solid. We build this spreader from the small, this 1,350 gallon, which is 275 bushel, up to 3,300 gallon, which is roughly 680 bushel. This particular spreader is 2,200 gallon, about 450 bushel. It's electric over hydraulic controls. Your beater at the back is constant, and there's an inside beater that turns down, forcing the manure down towards the door. Your speed spread pattern is just controlled by your opening of your rear door, and your variable speed augers in the bottom. There's 2 of them, which are reversible in case of bridging or jamming the stones or cement or anything into it. It's a true all-purpose spreader. We can gauge our spread pattern pretty evenly with it where we wish to. Right there, we have a pretty good mixture in it. So I think, Scott, if nothing else, you might as well run her down there. Thank you.
We have Alex Lush who's going to introduce the next machine, the Gale, and this machine is sold locally by Swanson Farm Equipment and DeBoer Farm Equipment. So John DeBoer introduced the other spreader which they both sold. This time we're switching, and Alex Lush of Swanson Farm Equipment, who is the owner, will do the presentation for this one.
Thanks, Steve. Sure like to thank the Soil and Crop for giving the opportunity to demonstrate our machines here today. I'd also like to thank Clifford for arranging that little shower, because it sure keeps the dust down, doesn't it? We're showing today here a Scavenger 2 322, which is a 2,800 gallon machine, or 331 cubic feet. It will handle all the way from liquids to pen packed. It comes in 5 different models, 6 actually, 2 bigger and 3 smaller. The secret of this machine is the fact that we have square auger in the bottom that is hydraulically raised and lowered. We can power the auger up or down, which because of the design of it, the square paddles has a pulse action which keeps the manure moving and also breaking up the pen pack material. The fact that we can move it up and down allows us to handle pen pack because we can power down through any wedges. We have a plastic liner on the one side that assists also in the sliding of the material down. We have a positive expeller that is throws over the top, so it is a very aggressive action on the manure and gives us a good control over our spread. Comes in 540 or 1,000 RPM. Weighs 6,770 pounds, and I think that's all. Carry on, Brent.
I don't know who's all Steve is.
Don, you're out of Woodstock, right? Yeah. Agricultural engineer from Woodstock? Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead. Woohoo! How are we going to measure that one? Oh, he's shutting her down there. He shut it down a bit. Does that thing ever shoot? Wow. While we're watching this spreader go down the field, I would like to call on Don Hilborn, who is the agricultural engineer from down in the Woodstock area, to explain a few things that he's brought with him today. So I'm going to turn it over to Don for a few minutes.
Just want to mention that we brought a running copy of the OMAP computer program on nutrient management. In this program, we have a database of about 400 different samples, and you can select the closest sample to your particular farm. You also can enter in the application rate, and they'll calculate what the nutrient value is for specific weather conditions. So it's over here. You can try it and take a look at it. The other thing we have in here, it's courtesy of Pit King, is we also have an online flow meter, and what it does is as you're going along with liquid, you have two sensors and you can see it on the Pit King unit, and what it'll do is it'll pick up and tell you how many gallons you are applying in gallons per hour, and it also converts it into total gallonage per day that you put on.
So make sure you have a look at that program. It's in the tin at the end of the day. And I think you'll find it very interesting. I have used it on my farm since it came out, and it was quite nice to work with. We have the new Idea Sidekick, and to introduce this one, we have Terry Bowman, representing Stoltz Sales and Service. Want to hop up here?
Okay, this is the new Idea Sidekick machine, a 3222. It'll carry 2,250 gallons of liquid or 408 bushel of dry material. I've got pen packs sitting in that right now. There'll be dual 22-inch augers delivering the material to two vertical expellers that are spinning at 856 RPM. It'll chew up anything that goes through it. There's a nice even spread pattern. It's a fairly simple machine to work with. It just uses one single hydraulic gate to raise and lower. You can get it with a hydraulic top if you want to carry pretty well liquid material. And again, it's the same galvanized self-sealing sides as what the box spreader has. So we'll let you see how that works.
How are you doing? And here's Ron, talk about the machine.
Good afternoon. Knight is a US-based company building spreaders of this style, box spreaders and TMR mixers. This is a 400 bushel or 1,800 gallon spreader. There's one size smaller and two sizes larger. The big one's up to 3,000 gallons. It's an industrial model. This one also has a patented twin auger system. Delivers the manure evenly up to the discharge area, which has swinging hammers. They are 12 pounds a piece. I believe this one has 12 hammers on it. They are bushing type swinging hammer. The bushing can be replaced if they start to wear. The tip is also replaceable once that starts to wear. There's also a adjustable ledger
behind the hammers that keeps the distance of, or keeps the clearance close to the hammers to chop everything up super fine.
Yeah, it's 0.
The metal is a copper bearing, which is a special rust-resistant type of metal that they use there. This manure in there is off the same pile as the box spreaders are. We want to show you how nice even job it does of getting rid of hard pen pack or dry manure. Take her away, Harv.
Thank you.
To adjust the rate of discharge here, it's just a matter of opening the gate a little wider or whatever. Got a little bit of overkill on the tractor on this particular spreader. It takes about 90 horse to pull it around the field and drive it.
It's called the track-o-matic. The axles on it actually steer, which I found very interesting when I first seen it. To introduce this machine, we have a man who traveled here from Quebec, from the company itself, Claymore, La Riviere, if I've pronounced it right, and he says I didn't do that one right, so okay. I'll let him tell you how he pronounces it correctly.
Yeah, you're doing very well. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody to be here this afternoon. This tank, as you could see, rather uncommon shape, is designed that way in order to have some weight between the wheels and weight over the wheels. That way we can maintain a low profile tank, always within, normal width. Even with the 28L 26 tires, we're within 10 feet wide, and you can still see over the tank. The main feature why we have those steering wheels is not to shear the end of the fields. Alvin will demo it, how the wheels steer. It's mounted. It's available, like I said, in 2,600 to 5,000 gallon, available with 18 L26 tires, the 23 or the 28s. The impeller is mounted on a swing out door. Would you, Alvin, just make a loop, please? So we can see the wheels steer. As you can see, it makes that tank easier to pull because you don't have the stress of the wheels against the drawbar, against the tractor. Are we ready to fire up? Okay, thank you.
I guess we should all be glad the wind is going the other way today, right? Reduction here and combination with the Airway attachment. So Ray, I think while they are, we need a little more time, but you can start and talk about your machine while they're doing that.
Thank you, and thank the Soil and Crop for inviting us. These are manufactured just 5-6 miles from here. We brought two machines today. The one has got the Airway on to show what the Airway will do, and what we're going to do is to drive a little piece with the Airway in the air and then drop it down so you can see the difference when it's stirred into the soil. The other machine is Steve Estep's own spreader. It's 7 years old, so we didn't try to bring new machines. The machine at this side has been demonstrated last year with OMAF, and they've been testing out the Airway to see what it would do and how it slows the manure down from getting into the tiles. We do offer quite a number of other options. We have 4-tooth injectors, we have disc cover up, we have booms across the back. The far spreader, you notice we have a pipe down the back, which is an option. We can spread it from the top or down lower. We have 8 sizes in each spreader. 3 different models, a deluxe model, the elite model, and the vacuum model, and then we manufacture truck mounts as well. The largest model we make is 7,000 gallon. We use a 100,000 pound axle under a 6-inch spindle, and the smallest one we manufacture about 2,000 gallon. So I think with that we'll let it go. Thank you very much.
Zero.
On this particular unit, we are not doing any measuring whatsoever. We're strictly demonstrating to you what the pros and the cons are using the Airway system. So there are no measurements to be taken on this unit. So follow along if you want afterwards and look at the difference it makes using that Airway. I think you'll find it quite impressive.
Yeah.
Yes. I need the Airway representative. Where's he at? Raise a hand. Airway representative. He's down there.
I'm just going to make a few comments about the bags that you saw in the fields and the Soil and Crop were measuring the bags. And the method that was used, it's not a very scientific one, but it's one that works and is easy to do for a farmer. They took some feed bags, opened them out, and because each of the feed bags are the same, they're about 40 by 40 or something like that. And they're spread out so that the tires don't go over the bags, but go in between and to the side. And that way you get a fairly accurate measurement of what's going on. You weigh them and then extrapolate that weight over an acre. It's only a very small percentage of an acre.
We just have a over-the-top spread. We don't incorporate for a couple of reasons. One of them being the horsepower requirements. It's this way. It's an alternative to the other irrigation where you have a low to the ground spread, no drifting or very little drifting, with a lot more even spread pattern. The unit runs around 35,000 gallons per hour, anywhere in that ballpark range. It's calibrated through an electronic flow meter, which is mounted directly in the cab and monitored on the output end of the toolbar here. So that gives your gallons per acre or gallons per hour, which can be converted back to gallons per acre if you know your acreage size. Yeah, Don's got his hands there on the transducers, which measure through the pipe. There's one transducer on either side and sends a signal through, which measures the flow rates. You're going to have to give us a minute. We have to get the pump primed up at the other end and get the hose filled up. So. Oh, the pump is powered by the truck engine driven off a transfer case. It's all mounted on the same, run by the same engine as runs the truck down the road. Same power plant.
Gotta put the radio control to shut it on and off.
Yeah. We have equipped this unit with radio control to shut the unit down, shut the truck down in case of an emergency. It can be shut down directly from the tractor. Bringing the truck down to an idle. The pump will run about 500 RPM or 400 RPM at an idle speed. So you can control that from here, bring it up to the 540 or drop it down to about 400. Or 100 RPM, I should say.
That's that unit there, that was built by Agronomy.
Don't forget now, as we finish up the demonstrations, one more to go with the Airway in action. I think Ken Musselman himself, or no? You're going to talk about it, or are you just going to run it? Okay, Ken's going to take the case over there with the Airway that's behind it, sitting over in the middle of the field. He's going to go down along the headland and the side and go across everything. So you can see what the Airway does in solid manure and in the liquid again, going across it. So make sure you have a look at that. I think you'll be very impressed with what it'll do. We have with us the representative.